Okay, welcome to part two of setting up a security testing distro or a pen testing distro. So in the first part, we looked at installing Kali Linux from an ISO install file, and then what we did is we've created a normal user and we've created a root user and we've set the root password. So before I go too much further, what I'd like to do is set a snapshot up. So I'm going to take a snapshot. So if anything happens during the next part of the configuration and setup, we can get back to where we were when we started. So I'm going to call this snapshot 1. In VM VirtualBox, there's this little setting here where you can go between the details, the snapshots, and the logs. So you might have it set on the details page and wonder where the taking the snapshot part is. So you click on the menu, you go to snapshots, then you've got take, delete, restore, properties, settings, all of the cool stuff to do with snapshots. So I can go back to a state where the machine was working if it breaks during the next stage. So I'm here, I've got my snapshot, and I'm going to open a terminal like so, and we're going to do a check to see if we're on the internet. So I'm going to ping 8.8.8.8. This is a machine on the internet. It's one of the Google top level DNS servers, and if I can get a reply, control and C to end, so I do ping 8.8.8.8. It contacts this machine out on the internet. If I get a reply, that means I've connected to the internet, and then I'll do Control and C on the keyboard to stop. That's just my test to see if I can get out to the internet. Then I want to do an apt update. What this does is this doesn't actually update anything other than it checks to see what packages are available for me to install. It doesn't install anything as such, but it checks to see if the packages that are available have changed since the last time I did an update. So we'll wait for that to finish. That's all good. It says run apt list upgradable if we want to do any upgrades. We're going to do a full upgrade of all the software, so I'm going to hold back on that just for a second. Down here I've got my list. So we did the change password, we've done the snapshot, we've done an update. Now, one of the things you could do is you could install the VirtualBox Guest X11, but that should have been installed as part of the initial install. So if it has been installed, you're all good. If it hasn't, you could always do an apt install VirtualBox Guest X11. What does that do? That enables certain things within the virtual machine, like the screen size, like USB, copy and paste, a shared folder. So if any of those aren't working, it might be that you need to do an apt install VirtualBox Guest 11. I would run that while logged in as your administrator, user, or root. If not, you'll need to use the sudo or switch user do command before you do an apt install. Then there's a few tools that I like to have. This is a personal preference when I build a new copy of Kali. My paste isn't working. So if we go into devices and we go to shared clipboard is disabled, I want bidirectional, and let's give that another go. Perfect. So I'm going to do an apt install. I'm going to install LeafPad, NFS Common, Remina, Drupy, and NCAT. Actually, I'm going to do Remina separately because last time I installed Remina, it's been removed from the installation list. So we'll do that independently. So apt install LeafPad is like Notepad in Windows. It's a text editor. NFS Common is all the tools for the NFS file share. Drupy is a web server which can do file upload, and NCAT is a version of Netcat produced by the people that do Nmap. NCAT is used as a Swiss Army knife for hackers. It's a TCP connector with lots of other things built in. So let's give that a go. Do you wish to continue? Yes. So that's installing my few bits of software that I like to have installed. That'll take a second for it to just connect out to the internet, grab the packages, install them. So as I said before, there's a tool called Remnant, which I think, yeah, that's fine. It's been re-added back into the distro, so that's installed as well. Fantastic. You could do an apt install Linux, Kali Linux everything. That would put all the tools on. So if you find that your install is missing lots of things, I know someone that uses Kali Linux Purple and their distro is missing loads of tools. So I'd recommend an apt install Kali Linux everything in that instance if you're missing lots of tools that you think should be installed. Again, I'm going to take another snapshot now I've installed some stuff. So snapshot 2, I'm going to go down here, take snapshot 2, OK. So again, if I want to get back to this position where my distro was working before I break it with something else, because the next thing we're going to do is an update of all the software. So again, I'm logged in as root, so I don't need to do my sudo. This basically does apt-get clean, apt-get update, so that's kind of setting up for the upgrade, and then it'll upgrade any bits of software and it'll upgrade anything on the distro. The -Ys mean don't bother me, just go ahead and install. You still might need to interact with it because some of the packages that get updated need a yes or no, so you still need to keep an eye on the updates. This could take a chunk of time, so this isn't something you want to do if you've got 5 minutes spare. You want to make sure you've got half an hour or so if this process is going to take a long time. And that seems to be working, so we'll let that do its stuff. Okay, so that was pretty quick. What we're going to do next is restart the machine, and if it restarts, then we'll take another snapshot and we'll class that as a job well done. So the machine is up to date. You should keep on top of your Kali Linux. In fact, I recommend having a up-to-date copy of Kali that you keep up to date all the time. Have an old copy that's maybe a year old. There's always going to be tools that are not working in Kali, and if you've got an old copy and a new copy, between the two copies you will find a working version of the tool. So another advantage of virtualizing your pen testing distro is you can have many different operating systems installed on one machine. Okay, while the machine's powered off, I'm going to go into the settings. So I'm going to do right click, settings, and have a look through. So under here, I've got shared clipboard set to bidirectional. Drag and drop disabled. I'm going to set that to bidirectional. That's all okay. On the system, remember we set the memory and things like that. One of the things we didn't set was the processor. So I'm going to add some processor cores to give it some power. That's all okay. Display is okay. Storage is okay. Audio, don't really need audio, so I'm going to turn it off. Networking set to NAT at the moment. We'll talk about networking in a different video. Don't need that. USB set to USB 2. I normally nudge that to 3. Shared folders. I quite like having a shared folder. So let's do a shared folder. Auto mount. Perfect. Like that. User interface is okay. Now let's see if this machine boots up and if we've broken it or whether or not the update has worked. That's looking pretty good. Okay, let's take a snapshot. Nice. Okay, next then, what I tend to do is edit my, I've called it bash RC in my notes, but it's now called ZSH RC. So if we edit that, this is the file that controls all of the settings when you open a terminal. And what I'm going to do is at the bottom, it says some aliases. You can add more aliases, they're really useful. But one of the things I'm going to add in here is a little sneaky script, which I'll put in the comments, which will mean that every time we run a terminal, it'll record what we type and what we do, so that's always useful. The only thing you need to do is you need to make yourself a scripts folder. So while we're thinking about it, I'm going to open my folder here. I'm in the root folder, so I'm just going to go create folder and call it scripts like that. That's it, and then I'm going to save this file. Save changes, yes. Exit out, and then test it. When I run a terminal, it should start the script so that when we type things, so if we do our ping 8.8.8.8, like that, and if we close the terminal, we should find that we can get to the scripts folder, and it should have recorded what we typed in. It has all the color codes, but essentially it knows and records everything that we type in our terminal, which will be really useful when we are security testing. The next thing I'll do is I'll install Nessus, Burt Pro, probably LibreOffice, and Test SSL. Now, Test SSL is available from GitHub, so you need to get a copy of that from GitHub. For LibreOffice, you can probably do an apt get install LibreOffice the same way as we installed other tools. We're going to do Nessus in a separate video and Burt Pro in a separate video, but just so you've got the commands, what you do is you download a copy of Nessus. I would advocate installing it actually in Kali. You do a dp kg-i and whatever file you download, that'll install it. It will then tell you how to start Nessus. You'll need to get a license, so you can either get the Pro, the Expert, or an Essentials license for Nessus in order for it to run. But I would advocate having a copy of Kali with Nessus, with Burt Pro, and that's a pretty good setup for security testing. That's it from me. Don't forget to take a look at the Cyberscheme website. That's thecyberscheme.org, and see all about our exams, our assessments, our training, and all the good things that we've got on the Cyberscheme website. Bye for now.